What's up, my peeps? It is finally time for the WrestleMania 31 results / highlights and review video. So I'll be going over the results of the show, some of the highlights in my opinion, then give you guys my thoughts and my review on the show. So it kicks off, of course, with the kickoff. And pretty much the first hour of the kickoff was just them hyping up the matches, talking about the matches, showing video packages. And we did see Lana and Rusev backstage where Lana said that she wasn't going to show compassion anymore. But that's about it in terms of like seeing superstars or, backstage segments. And then in hour 2, we got the tag team titles match, the Fatal 4-Way Championship match. It was Cesaro and Kidd defending their tag team titles against the Usos, the New Day, and the Lost Matadors. And it was a really good match. It was a really entertaining match. The action was everywhere, though. At a lot of points, I didn't know who was the legal man, who tagged in who, but it was a fun match to watch. You had a bunch of spots. You even had Natalya locking in the sharpshooter on El Torito. You had people that are not involved in the match get involved. You had Naomi actually hit a dive over the top rope onto Xavier Woods and one of the Lost Matadors. And at the same time she did that, Jimmy Uso also jumped over the top rope onto Cesaro and Kidd. You had Cesaro doing the big swing. You had Cesaro suplexing somebody off the apron like he usually does. You had Tyson Kidd and Cesaro pull off a flapjack into an uppercut onto, I believe, one of the Lost Matadors. And at the end of the match, what happened is the Lost Matadors were going for a double superplex on the top turnbuckle. And then Cesaro and Big E went ahead and went under the Lost Matadors in an electric chair position. And then basically it was a big electric chair into superplex spot. So then everybody was down except for the Usos. So one of the Usos goes ahead and hits the splash on Big E, but right before he jumped for that splash, Cesaro went ahead and tagged himself in. He tagged the Uso's leg, and then he goes in the ring, grabs the Uso, and throws him out the ring, then covers Big E and wins the match. So basically, Cesaro and Kidd steal the win and retain their WWE Tag Team titles. He also had a spot in the match where Naomi hit the rear view on Natalya. So like I said, everybody got involved, even the managers and all that. Yeah, it was a really entertaining match. And after that, it was time for the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and Sheamus did not return, but the participants in the Fatal 4-Way Tag Team Championship match actually were involved in this Battle Royal. So you had Cesaro in there, Tyson Kidd, Lost Matadores, and the Usos and all that. So anyways, the first guy to be eliminated from the match was actually Curtis Axel. He went ahead and kind of got everybody's attention, and he tore off his Axel Mania shirt, which got a pop from the crowd. The crowd liked Curtis Axel, but then everybody in the ring went ahead and grabbed Curtis Axel to throw him out the ring. They were going to throw him on one side, like I'd say the left side. If you're looking at the ring from the ramp, they were going to throw him to the left side of the ring. But then for some reason, like Big Show went ahead and told everybody to throw him on the other side. So they went ahead and threw Axel on the other side of the ring. So Axel got eliminated. Ryback is the one that eliminated most of the superstars from what I saw. He eliminated a bunch of them, just throwing them over the top rope, military pressing like Heath Slater and all of that. And it actually looked like Ryback could have won the match. You had, at the end, the last four, they were Ryback, Big Show, Miz, and Mizdow. Now, at some point, Ryback went for the shell shock on Big Show. The crowd wanted to see it, but Kane went ahead and, stopped that from happening. But Kane ended up getting eliminated anyways. So last four, like I said, Ryback, Big Show, Miz, and Mizdow. So, first off, Ryback gets eliminated by the Big Show. So then it's down to Big Show, Miz, and Mizdow. And then Miz and throughout the match, Miz and Mizdow were working together. There was no, miscommunication or whatever. So, Miz goes ahead and tells Mizdow, he's telling him something, they're trying to team up on the Big Show. So, Miz goes ahead and walks towards the Big Show, and he notices that Mizdow's not walking with him. So then he looks at Mizdow, and Mizdow kind of, he shakes his head, like, in a no motion, like, no, I'm not gonna do what you tell me to do. So then Miz goes ahead and tries to reason with Mizdow, and this entire time the crowd is really behind Mizdow. They're chanting Mizdow, they're cheering, and Miz goes towards the Big Show and notices that Mizdow is not moving. He's not going with the Miz. And while they're doing that, Big Show's just in the corner like laughing. And so then Miz gets mad, he starts yelling at Mizdow, and they start poking Mizdow, and then he goes one more time towards the Big Show. And then Mizdow goes ahead, grabs the Miz, and he throws him over the top rope for a big pop from the crowd. And so then the final two, Mizdow and the Big Show. And at this point, the commentators are really, like, bringing up the factor, like, really talking about how if Mizdow throws over the Big Show, it's going to be a miracle. Hey, maybe we can see, a miracle happen. If Mizdow eliminates the Big Show, it could happen. And when they were talking like that, I was like, I think Big Show's gonna win this. Because usually I feel when things like that happen, when, the underdog wins, usually the commentators don't talk about the possibility, really, of it happening. But anyways, I still thought, Miz could still win this, but I was like, I think Big Show's winning this. And yeah, that ended up happening. There were a few couples, some close spots where Mizdow was almost eliminated, or the Big Show may be eliminated. At some point, actually, Big Show charged Mizdow, and Mizdow just pulled down the ropes. And at that point, I actually thought Big Show was going to get eliminated, but Big Show hung on. And at some point, Mizdow had Big Show, like, in a DDT position, but a sleeper at the same time, trying to, throw him over the top rope. But in the end, Big Show throws Mizdow, and ends up winning the match. So Big Show is the winner of the second annual Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. He then goes ahead outside the ring and poses next to the trophy, and does the same pose as Andre in the trophy by crossing his arms. So after that, it was time for the main show, and the main show kicked off in a big way with the Intercontinental Championship match, and man, that was a really, really good match. So anyways, the first guy to make his entrance was Daniel Bryan to Big Pop. After Daniel Bryan, I think it was Bad News Barrett, and the last guy was Dean Ambrose. So this was, like I said, a good match. Just to give you guys a couple highlights in the match. In the beginning, all the superstars went ahead and jumped over the top rope onto each other, with Dean Ambrose getting the last shot by climbing up a ladder on the outside and hitting everybody with an elbow drop. And then after that, you had R-Truth. R-Truth was actually the first guy to try and climb up the ladder until Barrett stopped him. And then you had Daniel Bryan hanging Harper upside down on the ladder. Basically, Harper's legs were in between the ladder. And he started, doing his kicks on Harper, following it up with a last kick to the head. And then after that, you had like Ziggler, R-Truth, Ambrose all on the ladder, but then Stardust went ahead and hit a springboard dropkick onto the ladder. And the crowd was chanting Cody on Stardust, and Stardust was like, shut up, Cody's dead. And then Stardust went ahead and pulled out his own ladder from under the ring. It was like a custom Stardust ladder, and Michael Cole called it something, whatever. So anyways, he pulls that out, but then Barrett goes ahead and takes down Stardust, and then he starts kicking Stardust's ladder, breaking it. He breaks one of the steps off, and then he grabs that step and starts beating up Stardust with his own ladder step. And then he beats up Bryan with it too. But then Ambrose comes in and he hits Barrett with his own ladder. Not Stardust ladder, but a ladder that Ambrose brought in. And then after that, you had R-Truth actually hit the scissors kick on Harper, who went face first onto a ladder. Basically, the ladder was on the mat. Harper was above the ladder, or, like bending down above the ladder. And then with the scissors kick, he went face first onto it. And then you had a spot where Barrett superplexed Stardust off the ladder. It was a pretty tall ladder too. And right after the superplex, the refs went ahead and checked on Stardust and Barrett's. And then you had Ziggler and Bryan climb up the ladder, but Ambrose pushed them both off. And then the sickest spot in the match, and this looked like it really hurt. I don't know if Dean Ambrose is injured or not, but Luke Harper, basically Ambrose was climbing up the ladder. Luke Harper stopped him, grabbed him in a powerbomb position, and there was a ladder outside the ring between on the barricade and in the ring. So he has Ambrose in the powerbomb position, powerbombs him from the inside of the ring to the outside through that ladder, and it looked like Ambrose hit his head really hard on like the steps of the ladder. The refs and medics were checking on Ambrose. I think he was bleeding. There was blood on Luke Harper's tank top, and it looked like, you know, the medics were trying to wipe off blood from Ambrose. And then after that, Luke Harper goes ahead. He climbs up the ladder, and then Ziggler goes ahead and climbs behind him. And, well, actually, Ziggler has him in a sleeper hold, and Luke Harper tries to climb up the ladder with Ziggler on him in a sleeper hold. Eventually, Ziggler gets to take down Harper. They both fall down. And then Ziggler climbs up the ladder, but Barrett goes ahead, gets back in the ring, grabs Ziggler by the leg, and then takes him off and catches him with a bullhammer in midair. And then he catches Stardust with a bullhammer too, and then he hits Truth with a bullhammer as well, basically taking everybody out with a bullhammer like he did on Raw a couple weeks back. But then Daniel Bryan climbs up the ladder, he takes off Barrett, and then Ziggler gets back in the ring, he climbs up the ladder really quick. And so it's Daniel Bryan and Ziggler, they're the last two guys standing, and they're up top on the ladder. They're fighting it out, giving each other punches, trading punches, and then they start trading headbutts. They go headbutt for headbutt until the very end where Daniel Bryan hits one last headbutt, which takes Ziggler down, and then Daniel Bryan climbs up the last step, goes ahead, grabs the championship, and Daniel Bryan wins the ladder match and is the new WWE Intercontinental Champion. It's a really great match, and then the crowd goes ahead and chants yes along with Daniel Bryan. And yeah, that was a pretty cool match. Hopefully Ambrose is okay. And so after the IC title match, it was time for Randy versus Seth Rollins, and that was yet again another really good match. And very early on in the match, like in the beginning, Randy goes for the RKO, but Seth Rollins pushes him off. And then Rollins actually hits his turnbuckle powerbomb pretty early on in the match, but then Randy, after the turnbuckle powerbomb, bounces off the turnbuckle and hits a clothesline on Rollins. And then he goes for the RKO once again, but then J&J trying to distract Randy, so Randy gets pissed off. He goes ahead, decides to take him out right from the get-go, and he hits a DDT, a hanging DDT, on the floor on both J&J security, so Jamie Noble and Joey Mercury. And then right after that, Rollins goes ahead and hits a suicide dive on Randy. And then at some point later in the match, Seth Rollins also goes for a springboard moonsault on Randy. He connects with it, but like the momentum goes ahead and kind of throws Seth Rollins back first on the announcer's table. So then Rollins gets back in the ring, and back in the ring, Rollins went for a move from the top turnbuckle, but Randy took him off, and Randy climbed up the top turnbuckle on his own. And by the way, Randy during this match looked like Randy back in like 2004. He had like the red trunks and the elbow pads, and he went for a crossbody. He hit a crossbody from the top turnbuckle. We haven't seen Randy do that in a long time. So he hits that on Rollins, but Rollins rolls through with a pin, but Randy kicks out. And then Randy goes ahead and hits the DDT between the ropes on Rollins. He prepares for the RKO, but Seth Rollins manages to escape the RKO, and he goes ahead, rolls up Randy, and hits him with a super kick. Then he goes for the Seth Walker, but Randy counters it and hits an RKO. He goes ahead, covers Seth Rollins, but Rollins kicks out of it. So then Randy goes ahead and tries to go for the punt on him, but then Jamie Noble and Joey Mercury get in the ring to try and stop Randy, so he RKOs both of them, and once again, Joey Mercury jumped from the turnbuckle to, an RKO. I don't know when Joey Mercury's gonna learn that whenever he jumps towards Randy, Randy catches him with an RKO. But anyway, so yeah, Randy hits them both with an RKO, and that distraction allows Rollins to hurt a curb stomp on Randy. I thought it was done there. I thought Randy might have, might not kick out, but he actually kicked out. So the match continues on, and then Rollins goes for another curb stomp, and this curb stomp, he jumped really high, and it was cool because Randy countered the curb stomp into an RKO. And on commentary, JBL said that was like the coolest RKO ever. I don't know if I'd say the coolest RKO ever, but this was a really, really cool RKO. One of the best in my opinion. Basically, Rollins goes for the curb stomp. I didn't think of that counter. That was a cool counter, man. So yeah, he goes for the curb stomp. Randy kind of dodges out of it and hits Rollins in midair with an RKO, covers him, and wins the match. I actually thought Rollins was going to win this match, but Randy won. Great match, whether Rollins or Randy won. That was cool. And after that, it was actually Triple H versus Sting. I actually thought that match would take on later on in the night when it's actually nighttime for Sting's entrance and Triple H, but no. Anyways, Triple H's entrance, by the way, was a Terminator entrance. It really was a Terminator entrance. They even had the whole, searching for target thing. You even had Arnold on the turnbuckle. You had some Terminator skeletons on the entrance ramp, or stage, I mean. But yeah, so the match begins with Sting pretty much hitting a shoulder tackle on Triple H. And then Triple H goes ahead and he hits a shoulder tackle on Sting. And then Sting shortly after hits a dropkick on Triple H. And then the crowd starts chanting, "You still got it, you still got it." So at some point Triple H hits the knee facebuster on Sting. And then Sting just no-sells it and taunts Triple H. And then he tries to go for the Scorpion Deathlock on Triple H, which gets a pop. But then Triple H gets out of it and he gets out of the ring. Shortly after, they start fighting on the outside. Sting has Triple H on the barricade, so he goes for a Stinger Splash on the barricade or on Triple H, but Triple H gets out of the way, so Sting just hits the barricade, and then from then on, Triple H grabs Sting and he throws him on the steel steps, and then Triple H has control for a while. He gets Sting back in the ring, and then a bit afterwards in the match, DX actually comes out, and by DX I mean X-Pac, Billy Gunn, and Road Dogg. They come out, but Sting takes him out. Sting takes them all out, and then he actually climbs up the top turnbuckle and jumps on all of them. So then the crowd pops for that, and then once he gets back in the ring, Triple H actually hits a pedigree on Sting, but Sting kicks out. So then after that, Triple H can't believe it. He doesn't know what to do. And so then we get the NWO actually coming out. So the NWO gets out, and it's Hall, Nash, and Hogan, to even out the odds, and then they fight it out with DX. They take each other out, and that distraction allows Sting to hit the Scorpion Death Chop on Triple H. He goes for the cover, but Triple H kicks out. And so then Sting goes for the Scorpion Deathlock on Triple H. Triple H tries to go for the sledgehammer, which he brought in the ring. By the way, this match was a no disqualification match. It wasn't announced before the show, but when Triple H made his entrance, Lillian Garcia, pointed out that the only way to win the match is by pinfall or submission. So anyways, yeah, Triple H tries to grab the sledgehammer while in the Scorpion Deathlock, but Hogan grabs the sledgehammer and takes it away from Triple H. And Triple H ends up getting out of it, but then Sting locks it in once again. But then out of nowhere, we see HBK, and he hits Sweet Chin Music on Sting while he had the Scorpion Deathlock locked in on Triple H. So then once he hits a super kick on Sting, Triple H goes ahead and covers Sting, but Sting kicks out. So the match continues on, and then DX gives Triple H the hammer once again. So then Scott Hall gives Sting the bat. So they've both got their weapons now. And Sting actually wins it out by hitting Triple H in the gut. Basically, Triple H went high with the sledgehammer, and Triple H went low and hit Triple H in the gut. And then he actually broke Triple H's sledgehammer in half with the bat. And after that, he goes ahead and hits a Stinger Splash on Triple H in the corner. He goes for a second one. Now, when he goes for the second one, or before he went for a second one, I noticed right away the sledgehammer, while still, it was broken in half, it's still usable, or at least the top part. And so the top part was close to Triple H, and you noticed Triple H grabbing it, so I knew. So Sting goes ahead, goes for a second Stinger Splash. Triple H catches him with the sledgehammer on the head, and then covers Sting and wins the match. So Triple H actually beats Sting. And then after the match, the NWO and DX, they both get in the ring. DX goes ahead and picks up Triple H, and NWO does the same for Sting. And then Triple H goes ahead and he goes towards the NWO. So DX kind of pulls him back, but Triple H, goes ahead and kind of reassures them, I guess, that he's not gonna do anything. So he goes ahead towards Sting and he extends his hand, and Sting shakes it. I'm like, damn, you're gonna shake his hand? I mean, he just tried to screw you out and screw you over in the match by bringing out DX, bringing out, X-Pac, Billy Gunn, Road Dogg, and then Shawn Michaels too. But anyways, yeah, so Sting shakes his hand, and that was it. After that, it was time for the Divas tag team match, AJ Lee and Paige versus the Bella Twins. I actually thought this match was going to be towards the end, because usually the Divas matches are before the main event, and yeah, usually it's right before the main event or close to it. So anyways, pretty much they all got their signature moves in, like Brie Bella got her knee to the face while her opponent is, on the ropes. Nikki Bella hit her forearm on AJ. In the end, Paige grabbed Brie and threw her onto the steel steps. And then in the ring, AJ locked in the Black Widow to get the tap out win. So AJ and Paige beat the Belts wins. After that, it was time for them to introduce the Hall of Famers, the 2015 Hall of Famers. And then it was time for John Cena versus Rusev. And Rusev actually made his entrance in a tank while the Russian national anthem was playing. And then once he got to the end of the ramp, that's when his theme music hit. And I love Rusev's theme music, or entrance music. So I was glad that played. I was like, we're not going to hear Rusev's theme song, but then we heard it. And then John Cena made his entrance. John Cena got a video package of America, or of the USA. And so, yeah, Cena and Rusev, Eden introduced, how they usually introduce the challenger first, but Rusev kind of insisted that Eden introduce him first, the champion. So she introduced Rusev first and then John Cena. Now, moving on to the match, you had Rusev dominate kind of the first portion. In the beginning, he hit a gut-wrench suplex on John Cena, and at some point, Cena hit a tornado DDT, I think, from the second rope. And then eventually Cena locks in the SDF for the first time in the match, and Lana, for some reason, or I guess to distract the ref, throws one of her shoes, to the other side of the ring. The ref sees it, but kind of ignores it, and continues on looking at, Rusev and Cena in the STF. And Rusev eventually, he gets to the ropes, and then John Cena tells something to the ref along the lines make sure you have your eye on Lana, so she doesn't try to pull anything. Anyways, so afterwards, you get Rusev actually hitting a headbutt from the top turnbuckle, or top rope, onto John Cena, and that actually gets a Rusev chant from the crowd. By the way, both John Cena and Rusev were getting booed, but Rusev actually got a Rusev chant. John Cena didn't get a chant. I mean, he got a small, John Cena sucks chant, but apart from that, he didn't get a Cena sucks, let's go Cena chant. So anyways, he did pull off something pretty unique though, something we've never seen from Cena. He hit a springboard stunner. That's right, a springboard stunner. It is exactly how it sounds like. So he springs off the ropes and then hits a stunner on Rusev. He covered him after that, and Rusev kicked out at 2. And then Rusev went ahead and hit John Cena with a super kick, and then he just grabbed Cena in I don't know what the move's called, really. I guess he sent him face first onto the mat, and then he locked in the accolade. And then John Cena just powered out of it, and he started getting up with Rusev on his back, and he charged, he ran towards the turnbuckle, with his back towards the turnbuckle, so that way he hits Rusev's back in the corner, so Rusev lets go of the accolade, and then he follows that up by locking in the STF once again. And this time, Lana goes ahead, gets on the apron to distract John Cena to do something. And so John Cena lets go. He goes ahead towards Lana. And then Rusev takes advantage of that. He goes and charges John Cena. John Cena sees Rusev coming, so he gets out the way. So Rusev goes ahead and instead tackles Lana by accident. And then he turns around. Cena hits him with an attitude adjustment, covers him. And that's it for Rusev's undefeated streak. He beats Rusev after a 3 count, and John Cena is the new United States champion. So, after that, it was actually Stephanie McMahon coming out, Stephanie and Triple H, and they announced the attendance record, and then they say that all of this wouldn't be possible without, and then, it's like, people are thinking she's about to say, the WWE Universe or something like that, but she says, without me and my husband Triple H. And then Triple H says, yeah, some people might not like that, but the truth hurts. And the truth is, not only did he beat Sting tonight, but he says that he beat everybody that bet against him. And he says it feels so good that it actually feels like he beat every single person pretty much in attendance tonight and the millions watching on the network. And he says he owns Sting just like he owns everybody. He owns every superstar and diva back there and all of you, talking, about the fans. And then he says, so whether you like it or not, it doesn't matter because the authority always wins. And that's when The Rock's music hits to big pop. The Rock comes out And he says, you damn sure don't own The Rock. And by the way, before The Rock even started talking, man, the crowd was loud for The Rock. So they didn't talk for a while. They were waiting for the crowd to like settle down a bit. Yeah, it's Stephanie saying, all right, we get it, you like him, whatever. But anyway, so they wait a while, and that's when The Rock says, you don't own The Rock, and you don't own these people. And then he goes ahead and pretty much challenges Triple H. Actually, he goes ahead and tells Triple H, you've got two choices. You can either go to the back and dress up as the Terminator again, which I thought was pretty funny, since he did dress up as the Terminator for his entrance. Or we could create a WrestleMania moment right here, right now. And then Triple H goes ahead and says that they've had a heck of a rivalry, but he kicked his ass for most of it, so he's got nothing to prove. And then The Rock says that Triple H left his balls in Stamford, Connecticut, and then Triple H gets angry. Stephanie tries to calm him down, and then says that without the McMahons, there'd be no Rock, and without, her father and herself, like I said, there'd be no Rock. And then the crowd chants Shane O'Mac, because she didn't mention Shane. And then Rock says, you wouldn't even be in power if it wasn't for Vince McMahon's Johnson. Stephanie gets mad at that, so she slaps The Rock, and then she goes ahead and tells him, oh, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to slap a woman? And then she tells him to get out the ring. So The Rock gets out the ring, and then he goes to the right side of the ring, and then the crowd starts chanting Ronda Rousey. And I'm like, oh, that's right, they showed her. They showed that she was in the crowd early on in the night. So she's right next to The Rock, and then The Rock looks at her, and then he tells her to go over the barricade. So she does. The crowd cheers for that. And then they go in the ring, and that's when The Rock says that he'd never hit a woman, but he has a very good friend who'd be happy to. And that's when Steph kind of sucks up to Ronda and says that, you know what, her and Ronda are friends, she's a big fan of hers, Ronda's a big fan of hers, that's why she was at ringside for her match, well, not at ringside, but, in the crowd for her match at SummerSlam against Bray. And Steph goes ahead and says that she wouldn't mess with Ronda in the Octagon or in MMA, but Ronda right now is in her ring. And then Ronda says, she goes ahead and grabs the mic and says that whatever ring she's in belongs to her. And then she tells Stephanie that if she wants her to leave the ring, then, make her leave the ring. So then The Rock tells Stephanie that if she keeps talking trash to Ronda, then Ronda's gonna rip her insides out and play jump rope with her fallopian tube. And then Triple H, he gets pissed and he says he's had enough, and that's the last thing The Rock's gonna say about his wife. And The Rock says, yeah, you're right, that's the last thing I'm gonna say. And so then The Rock starts punching Triple H. He punches him in the corner, and then Ronda goes ahead and actually takes down Triple H with a slam. And Triple H rolls out the ring, and then Stephanie goes ahead and tries to slap Ronda, but Ronda grabs Stephanie's arm, and she keeps it locked in, and then she just lets go. Stephanie McMahon runs out the ring, or rolls out the ring, and that's about it. The Rock then goes ahead and says, if you smell what The Rock and Ronda are cooking. And that's about it. The Rock's music hits, and that was it for the segment. After that, it was time for the Bray Wyatt and Taker match. And Bray, it wasn't nighttime yet. I think, the segment with The Rock, Triple H, and Stephanie, I think, was to kind of take up some time so that it could be nighttime, but it still wasn't nighttime. It was still a bit bright outside. So, anyways, Taker versus Bray. Bray makes his entrance first, and he's got, scarecrows walking with him. And he's still got the lantern, although he doesn't need it since it is bright. It's not dark. But anyways, he makes his entrance. And then Taker makes his entrance. And he looked a lot better than last year. And also, I really like that he's back to wearing the tank top, the black tank top with the pants. Instead of the attire, the singlet, where it's all, one piece. And also, he's back to wearing the old jacket, or at least the jacket he wore for from 2004 to 2010 maybe, or 11. Anyways, whatever. So yeah, and he also grew out his hair a bit. So he looked, like I said, looked a lot better than last year. And anyways, so Bray versus Taker. Right from the get-go, Taker hits a big boot on Bray before the match even starts, because Bray charged Taker. And then he starts going with strikes in the corner on Bray. And so the ref rings the bell. The match has officially started. And in the beginning, Bray pretty much is getting beat up by Taker. Like I said, he's beating him up in the corner. And then Bray tried to take Taker out of the ring, but Taker just landed on his feet on the outside. And then he went ahead and grabbed Bray, took him to the outside. He ended up hitting the leg drop on Bray on the apron. And after that, he went for snake eyes. But once he went for the running big boot, Bray caught him with the running crossbody. And from then on, Bray had control for most of the match. There was a point where Bray kind of grabbed Taker. Taker was down, and Bray was on the outside. He put Taker's head like against the steel post, and then he went for like a running, jumping clothesline on Taker, trying to hit Taker's head against the steel post. I guess he kind of did it, but in the process, Bray also hit the steel steps. Like, he went over the steel steps. Well, actually, he didn't go over the steel steps because his legs hit the steel steps. So he hit himself in the process of hitting Taker. And once Bray went back in the ring, Taker actually put him in Hell's Gate, and Bray tried to fight out of it. He ended up punching Taker a bunch of times, so he punched his way out of it. And then Bray hit Taker with the elevated side slam, followed by the running senton, goes for the cover, but Taker kicks out. Bray then goes for Sister Abigail, but he takes too much time taunting, so that allows Taker to grab him by the throat while, Bray had him set up for Sister Abigail, and then Taker went for the chokeslam Bray Wyatt. And then he set up Bray for the Tombstone Piledriver, he hits it, but Bray kicks out. And then Taker signals for another Tombstone Piledriver, so he picks Bray up, but then Bray gets out of it, and he hits Taker with Sister Abigail. Taker kicks out at 2.5. It was really close to 3. And then they're both down, the ref starts counting, and then eventually Bray gets up in the spider walk, and at that point I knew Taker was gonna sit up, and that's what he does. Taker sits up, so Bray's in the spider walk, Taker sits up, and once Bray sees that, he kind of stops the spider walk and just looks at Taker, and Taker looks right at Bray, and then they start trading punches. Bray headbutts Taker, and he takes control, and then Bray starts mocking Taker, and then he does the throat slash taunt that Taker does before the tombstone, but instead of going the tombstone for the tombstone afterwards, he goes for Sister Abigail once again, but Taker just pushes him off. Bray charges Taker, Taker picks him up for the tombstone, hits a second tombstone, covers him, 1, 2, 3, and Taker wins the match. I thought this match was a lot better than the Taker versus Brock match at WrestleMania 30. So after that match, it was time for the main event, Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. They show a video package first of the feud, and then Roman Reigns makes his entrance. And right when he makes his entrance, the funny thing is, we see Reigns push a guy in the crowd. So I'm guessing the guy pushed him or something like that. And Reigns is walking down with like police. And then at some point, you also have somebody kind of like slap Reigns' head or push Reigns' head. And anyways, so then he walks towards the ring or gets in the ring. It was a pretty long walk. It wasn't like WrestleMania, what was it, 28 maybe or 29? I don't know which WrestleMania it was. I think it was 29, yeah. Where the Shield face off against Randy, Sheamus, and The Big Show. Their entrance there wasn't as long as this one through the crowd because they didn't start from like the very top or whatever. So I thought this entrance was better. And then afterwards, Brock Lesnar makes his entrance. And Brock Lesnar, you know how he does his taunt on the stage? And usually pyros go off? Well, this time he did the taunt. And there was no pyros, so I was surprised about that. I was like, damn, why no pyros? This is WrestleMania. You know how sometimes he's got the pyros, sometimes there are no pyros, but usually WrestleMania is where they pull off the pyros. So there was no pyros, and I think Heyman kind of looked like he was surprised that there was no pyros, like he was expecting it. And then he walks down the ramp just a little bit more, and then the pyros go off. So they were super late with the pyros there. And then he gets towards the ring. You know how when he jumps on the apron, sometimes there are pyros? So I'm like, hopefully, the pyros aren't late this time. So they weren't late. He jumped on the apron, pyros go off, gets in the ring. And then this time we've got Lillian Garcia making the announcements. So she goes ahead and introduces Reigns first. And then she goes ahead and she's about to introduce Brock, but then Paul Heyman grabs the mic and he introduces Brock like he only can. He calls him, the Beast Incarnate and all of that. Brock Lesnar. And Brock looks pumped up. And then the match begins. And this was kind of like John Cena versus Brock at SummerSlam, where Brock dominated the majority of the match. This really was like at SummerSlam. And the cool thing is, the crowd was actually counting the suplexes this time. Brock did deliver a lot of suplexes. He did deliver a lot of German suplexes, but he also pulled off some normal suplexes, belly-to-belly suplexes, all sorts of suplexes. So anyways, right from the get-go, Brock just picks up Reigns, manhandles him, he picks him up and kind of runs with him in circles, and then he just runs with him towards the corner. And then he hits the first German suplex of the match. And guess what happens right after? An F5 from Brock. He hits an F5 right away, just like at SummerSlam. But he doesn't go for the cover. He just hits the F5, and then he just stands there. And then he notices, he's already got blood on him. So Reigns busted him open already. It wasn't a big, cut or whatever. It was a small cut, but still. He notices the blood, so then he starts kicking Roman Reigns' ass, and then goes ahead and suplexes him again. He hits him with a bunch of knees throughout the match to the gut, German suplexes, and then eventually he hits a second F5, and Reigns kicks out of it. And then Brock goes ahead and hits a third F5, and guess what? Reigns kicks out of it. At that point, I'm like, come on. Reigns kicked out of a third F5? Taker lost last year after a third F5. He did not kick out of the third F5. So Reigns here looked stronger than Taker. Anyways, so yeah, like I said, Reigns kicks out of the third F5, and then they fight it out on the outside. Actually, before they fight it out on the outside, at some point in the match, Reigns was on the apron and Brock was in the ring. And Reigns started fighting back. He started hitting knees on Brock, but knees to the head, while Brock, initially was hitting knees to the gut. So then Brock gets mad, he gets pissed. He grabs Reigns' leg when Reigns goes for a regular kick onto the head. And then he clotheslines Roman Reigns. Reigns bounces off or falls on the apron, then falls to the outside. And then they start fighting it out in the outside. And once they're outside, Reigns grabs Brock and he pushes him headfirst onto the steel post. And then Brock just starts pouring blood. You guys remember when Brock was feuding with Triple H? And Triple H kind of shoved him onto the steel post or whatever, and he started bleeding really bad. Except, I think that time was on the back of his head or on the top of his head. This time was on his forehead. It was really bleeding bad. It was just dropping blood. Anyways, Reigns gets back in the ring, and then he waits for Brock to get back in the ring. And Brock gets at the very, 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 very last second. That was one of the closest, if not the closest, 10 count or 9 count or whatever I've ever seen. Well, actually, this one and the one with Reigns, I think at Fastlane, when he was facing off against Daniel Bryan, where he was very close to a 10 count, got in at the very last second. That was kind of like that one. So once he gets back in the ring, Roman Reigns goes ahead and hits him with a Superman punch, but the Beast doesn't go down with one Superman punch. So Reigns hits a second Superman punch. Brock kind of, falls down to a knee, but then he starts getting back up again. And then he goes for a third Superman punch. Lesnar tries to block it, but Reigns fights out of it. He headbutts Lesnar a couple times and then hits a third Superman punch, and then he prepares for the spear. He hits the spear on Lesnar, but Lesnar starts getting back up. Reigns didn't even get the time to go for a cover. So once he gets back up, Reigns hits a second spear. He goes for the cover, but Lesnar kicks out. So then after that, Reigns goes for another one, but Lesnar catches him with an F5, and then they're both down at that point. So I was thinking, alright, since both Lesnar and Reigns are down now, it's probably going to take some time for Lesnar to cover Reigns, so Reigns is probably going to kick out. But no, we hear Seth Rollins music. That was a big surprise. Seth Rollins music hits during the match. He comes running out with the Money in the Bank briefcase. He gives him Money in the Bank briefcase, and he wants to cash in right now during the match. And then Lillian Garcia announces that the match is now a triple threat match. So he goes ahead and hits a curb stomp on Brock Lesnar, but then to make sure that he can, win the match, he tries to go for a second curb stomp on Brock Lesnar, but when he goes for it, Brock catches him in an F5 position, just like at the Royal Rumble, but before he could hit the F5, Reigns comes in with a spear to Brock, and then Seth Rollins hits a curb stomp on Roman Reigns, covers him, 1, 2, 3, and Rollins wins the match and is the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Rollins then goes ahead, gets out the ring right away with the championship, and he poses on top of the stage, and the pyros go off with Rollins holding up the championship as WrestleMania closes. So wow, that was a really good show. That was a really good WrestleMania. There was just so many good matches. I'll be honest, guys, going into this WrestleMania, I didn't expect this because I was comparing this WrestleMania to the most recent one, 30. That's usually how I compare it. I'm like, is this one going to be better than the previous one? And you know what? This WrestleMania might just be better than WrestleMania 30. I thought WrestleMania 30 was a great WrestleMania, but this one was also great. And I think there were more good matches in this one than on WrestleMania 30. Like I said, just the Taker match alone was better than last year's Taker match. The ladder match, that was a great match. Now, the Taker match last year, I think, one of the reasons, of course, why it wasn't, maybe as good or whatever, was because Taker did get a concussion, during the match. But even if he hadn't gotten a concussion, I think this match would have still, been that match. Let's start with the Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match. That was a really entertaining match, and I actually think that this tag team match was better than the WrestleMania 30 tag team match. It was full of action, and at some points, I didn't know who was going to win. See, my prediction was Cesaro and Kidd to retain the tag team titles, but at some points, it looked like the New Day was going to win the tag team titles. At some point in the match, I actually thought the Los Matadores were going to win the tag team titles when they went for a double team move where one of them had the opponent in a powerbomb position and the other hit a backbreaker on him. But yeah, in the end, Cesaro and Kidd pulled off the win, or stole the win, in a pretty good match. And then the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Now, here, the winner wasn't the winner that, I wanted. I wanted Damien Mizdow to win, or Ryback, but Big Show won. But at the same time, Big Show, they even pointed it out on the commentary, and that's when I started, siding with the Big Show, thinking Big Show was going to win the match. Because on commentary, they were talking a lot about how Big Show has never won, like, a Battle Royal. He's never won a Royal Rumble or one of these big Battle Royals, and he finally won one tonight. Now, right when the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal was announced, like the first time, last year, I thought Big Show was a strong candidate to win the match. I was expecting Big Show to win, or I don't remember who my other pick was. But, so I guess, this year is the year Big Show wins. Ryback did look strong, though, in the match. He eliminated most of the guys. And Hideo Itami also looked strong in the match, but he eventually got eliminated by the Big Show. Also, yeah, I would have loved to see Damien Mizdow win. That was my number one pick. That was the guy I wanted to see win. And that's also the guy that I thought would win the match if Sheamus didn't return. Sheamus, surprisingly, we didn't see Sheamus. He didn't get involved in any of the matches, so that was a surprise. I really expected Sheamus to make an appearance at WrestleMania, whether it be in the Battle Royal or interfering in the match or just an appearance backstage, something like that. But there was no spotting of Sheamus. People did see him at WrestleMania Access, but as far as WrestleMania 31, we didn't see him. Anyways, what else? Oh yeah, the ladder match. That was a great ladder match. Man, that powerbomb through the ladder, that must have freaking hurt. Luke Harper powerbombing Ambrose from inside of the ring to the outside through that ladder, and then the ladder breaking. Hopefully, like I said, Ambrose is okay. And love the match, man. It was a really cool match. I expected great things from the match, and it delivered. And I'm happy also with the winner, Daniel Bryan. I was hoping for either Bryan to win the match or Ambrose. I can see why, they took out Ambrose so that Ambrose doesn't look weak in another loss, because he hasn't, he hasn't won a match since the Shield breakup back in, when was that? It was the night after WrestleMania, yeah? Yeah, it was the night after WrestleMania, so I don't know, it's been a while. Almost a year. So for almost a year, Ambrose has not, basically a year, Ambrose has not won a singles match, any match, period, on pay-per-view. That is freaking, that's crazy. So hopefully he wins his first match at Extreme Rules, I don't know. But also, with the ending of this ladder match, I'm expecting maybe Daniel Bryan versus Dolph Ziggler for the IC title at Extreme Rules. Possibly Daniel Bryan versus Ziggler versus Barrett in a triple threat match. As far as Dean Ambrose goes, I'm not sure where he goes after this. Maybe a feud with Luke Harper because of the powerbomb. Although, you know, whatever. Things happen in the match, so I don't know. But, yeah, great match. Seth Rollins versus Randy, another great match. That was a really good match too, man. That RKO at the end, that was awesome. Everything in the match was great. It was just a really good put together match. And man, I love that RKO. That curb stomp, because you wouldn't really imagine a curb stomp being countered into an RKO, but the way they did it was perfect. He countered the curb stomp and was able to RKO Rollins while Rollins' feet still hadn't touched the mat. That is cool. And I didn't expect Randy to win the match. I was expecting Rollins to win the match. But when Randy won the match, I was like, now there might be a possibility of Seth Rollins cashing in that Money in the Bank briefcase. Because like I said in my prediction video, whenever somebody cashes in their Money in the Bank briefcase, most of the time they lose their match the same night. They either lose their match the same night, or they don't have a match. In the case of Seth Rollins, he lost his match against Randy, a match I expected him to win. So Seth Rollins cashing in at the end of WrestleMania wasn't so much of a surprise to me because he had lost his match against Randy. What was a surprise is the fact that he cashed it in during the match, because I thought if he was going to cash it in, he was going to cash it in after the match, after, you know, Brock retains or whatever, or Roman Reigns wins. But, you know, I did think that if he was going to cash in the briefcase, it was going to be on Brock instead of Reigns, and that did happen because Brock was still the champion. So anyways, after that, Sting versus Triple H. That was also a good match, man. I love that they brought out DX, NWO. I did not expect Shawn Michaels to make an appearance there. So I guess another HBK heel turn. Or was he a heel before? I don't know, because he did cost Daniel Bryan his match at Hell in a Cell last year. So I don't know if HBK has been a heel since then, or has he been a face and this is a heel turn? I don't think it's a heel turn. I mean, does it really matter? He's not even on TV on a regular basis, so he's whatever. You know, he's a face sometimes, and sometimes he's a heel. Depends on what he does, or, you know, what program he's in or whatever. But yeah, that was a good match. Triple H winning was definitely unexpected, and also making it a no-holds-barred or no DQ match, I think was the right decision, because I did want to see more of the bat versus the sledgehammer. That's their whole thing, you know, Triple H with the sledgehammer, Sting's signature weapon being the bat. So it was cool that we did get to see them use those weapons. The ending was, I could see the ending though, when, you know, because the camera showed Triple H grabbing the sledgehammer towards the end. So you kind of knew that once Sting went for the Stinger Splash once again, that Triple H was going to hit him with the sledgehammer. And also, when the NWO came out, the commentary team was like, oh, which side are they on? I was like, obviously, you know, Sting's side. But then I was like, oh, or maybe it's they're going to make like a heel turn. They're gonna do a heel turn, and they align themselves with DX, and they're all with Triple H. But then I was like, no, Hogan is with them. Hogan's not turning heel, so yeah, obviously they didn't turn heel. And after that, also Paige versus AJ Lee Paige and AJ Lee versus the Bella Twins. I would have preferred like a Fatal 4-Way WrestleMania, because I would have preferred something I thought could have happened. They could have kept this a tag team match and put the Divas Championship on the line, like they did at Backlash 2010, I think it was, where Randy and the Legacy versus Batista, Triple H, and Shane McMahon. If Randy's team wins, Randy wins the title, and if Triple H, anyone from Triple H's team, I think, got the pin, then Triple H would retain the title. I think they could have done something like that with this. But as far as the match goes, that was a good match, actually, for a Divas match. So, props to them. And also, towards the end of the match, it looked like Paige was, like, about to cry. Maybe because, you know, she got her WrestleMania match. And also, John Cena versus Rusev. That was also a good match. You know, I thought Rusev versus John Cena at Fastlane was a good match. And this one was a good match, too. Would have preferred Rusev to win, though. I wanted to see Rusev remain undefeated. The thing is, I thought Reigns was going to win the championship. And if Reigns was going to win the championship, I thought, why not have Rusev beat John Cena here, get an even bigger win, put over Rusev even more as like this unstoppable superstar, and then put him up against Reigns. Reigns versus Rusev, you know, the WWE World Heavyweight Champion versus the undefeated Rusev and like the United States Champion. I think that would have been a good program, a cool program to see, and it would have made an unpredictable program because you've got this undefeated superstar, so people will be wondering, oh, is he going to lose his first match to Reigns, or is Reigns going to win? But yeah, Cena wins and is the U.S. champion. The good thing about that is it'll elevate the U.S. title, having a 15-time world champion hold on to the U.S. title, you know, fighting for that title, defending that title, just like Daniel Bryan winning the ladder match. Now, the segment with Triple H and Stephanie and The Rock and Ronda Rousey. I felt that segment was way too long. It was obvious, though, what the segment was for. Well, actually, the segment, I guess, had two purposes. I know there was rumors about The Rock facing off against Brock at WrestleMania 32, but with this, it looks like it might just be The Rock versus Triple H, a match that they teased like a couple months back on SmackDown. So if The Rock does compete in the match at WrestleMania 32, I think it's going to be The Rock versus Triple H and not The Rock versus Brock. And maybe Ronda versus Stephanie. We'll see. I don't think it's going to be a tag team match, like a mixed tag team match. I think it'd be better for it to be Triple H. Like I said, Triple H versus The Rock, Stephanie versus Ronda. But who knows if they'll even have the Ronda versus Stephanie match. Anyways, and yeah, like I said, did I say one of the purposes for this segment, I think, was to, you know, delay the time or whatever so that when Taker makes his entrance, it's nighttime, it's dark outside. But yeah, like I said, it wasn't dark yet when Taker made his entrance. And also, yeah, Taker versus Bray, I thought it was a good match. Taker looked a lot better than last year. Now, after Bray Wyatt hit his running crossbody on Taker, it actually looked like Taker had gotten like a second concussion or something like that. Another concussion. I'm not sure though. Hopefully not. Hopefully he is okay and didn't get another concussion in this match. And speaking of Taker, I'm still hoping for a Taker and Sting match at WrestleMania 32. Now, we'll see if that happens now. Okay. And, oh yeah, and hopefully Taker, you know, continues to grow out his hair. I want his hair to be back. I want him to grow out his hair like he did in, you know, before, like in 2000. When did he cut it off? Basically before he cut it off, you know. I want Taker back with the long hair. Anyways, after that, the World Heavyweight Championship match. I actually enjoyed this match. I enjoyed the match a lot. More than I thought I would. It was like SummerSlam between John Cena and Brock, except I actually enjoyed this match more than the John Cena-Roman Reigns match. Because this one was, because Brock, you know, re-signed the contract, he's staying with the WWE, it was more unpredictable, I feel, than Brock versus Cena. Brock versus Cena, I was like 100% positive Brock was going to win. Brock versus Reigns, I was like 97? No, not 97. I wouldn't say 97. Maybe 95 or... Nah, not even 95. 90 to 95% sure that Reigns would win. So there was still that possibility there. I thought that Brock could win the match. And at the end, neither Brock or Reigns win the match. Instead, Seth Rollins cashes in, makes it a triple threat match, and wins the championship. Seth Rollins pretty much made history tonight at WrestleMania. This was a really big night for Rollins. A great match with Randy. He didn't win, yeah, but he went ahead and became the first person to cash in his Money in the Bank at WrestleMania, the biggest show of the year, and also make a regular match into a triple threat match, cash in the briefcase during an ongoing match, and then winning the WWE World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania. So yeah, great WrestleMania, man. That was a really, really good show. Really from from the top to the bottom. From the opening match to the last match, that was great overall. As far as the highlight of the show, that's a tough one. Because I love the ending, love the last match, and Seth Rollins cashing in, making it a triple threat. That was a big surprise. I also loved the ladder match, and I also really liked Randy versus Seth Rollins. So it's a tough one. Damn. I guess maybe the ladder match would be my match of the night. Or, you know what? How about this? The highlight of the night for me is the powerbomb through the ladder, maybe. Or, see, it's so hard to pick because Seth Rollins also cashing in and winning that championship. It's a tough one. You know what? I'll just go with a match of the night. And I'll say that the match of the night for me was the ladder match, maybe. But it's a hard one, man, because Seth versus Randy was also great. So I guess it's between those two, and also the main event was great too. Anyways, as far as a rating for tonight's show, I would give it a 9 to 9.5 on 10. I really thought it was that good. What did you guys think? Let me know your rating for WrestleMania 31 and the match of the night for you. Which match did you enjoy watching the most? With that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, as always, you can click that like button down below. I'd really appreciate it. And I'm out. See you guys.